In this episode, we sit down with John and Shannon Mullen on SV Carisma. They left our dock last April, and we're going to see what they've learned in a year of cruising.
I'm Patricia.
And I'm Dave.
We sold our house.
And in April of 2021, we took delivery of a brand new Jeanneau 440.
Since then, we've been outfitting and upgrading the boat with everything we will need for the cruising lifestyle.
We've been learning to sail here on the Texas coast, so come join us for the adventure.
Right.
So we're here with John and Shannon on Carisma. Then they were dock neighbors of ours, and they left in April of last year to go cruising. So we thought we would ask them a few questions of what they've learned.
Yeah.
So you want to start with the first one, huh?
Yeah. First one is, what have y'all learned since y'all started cruising?
A lot.
The list goes on.
Yeah, that's a hard question. Really, it is, because we've learned a lot. There's been a lot that we thought we knew. Sailing is one thing, but living together on a boat.
What do you mean?
Now hold on. Yeah, you guys live together on the boat in the marina, and we know your resume for sailing because this is your second boat or third boat, and you've sailed for decades, so you've got the sailing experience. It's just got to be like the moving around type of lifestyle that cruising is, always going someplace new. You know, my thinking would be that you're getting away from what's familiar to you, and you're having to learn new customs, learn new rules.
Yeah, that is. We did live on the boat for a year, but we were able to get off the boat and go do things and separate. And when you're cruising, when you're out, and you got one dinghy that brings you to shore and back, there's no getting out, right?
But also, usually you need both of you, like grocery shopping. You need both of you. Not one can just go grocery shop and come back,
so
like
she
it used to be.
Be able to go grocery shopping
by myself.
By herself.
But I can't because I either need his help with transporting things, usually, because we need both bikes, or we need both arms to carry bags. So just kind of learning those little nuances, I think. And then as far as cruising, as far as getting into the boating and stuff like that, the things we've learned, really, if you really wanted to get down into the basics of cruising and anchoring in different anchorages, because we were on a boat for a year, but we were on a dock. Yeah.
And so anchoring, and even in anchoring in Texas, was one thing different, right? So in Texas, you can go and you can anchor, and you don't get, there's current there, but there's not like a roaring current like we will see in so many places.
Or even the tide is only like 1.5 feet, whereas in Savannah it was 9 feet.
Yeah. So we can anchor and be pointed one direction, and you can just, it's like you're in a river, and a few hours later the boat's turned around, and it's like you're in a river going the other way, and that plays havoc on the anchoring. It plays
Usually
havoc.
it has to reset itself.
Yeah, usually
there's a little bit of dragging involved usually.
But that's like the nut and bolts of it, right?
Yeah. So you've been up the East Coast a little bit, and you've just started in the Caribbean. What's your favorite thing so far that you've discovered, or place you've been?
Favorite thing? I think my favorite thing is pulling into a new place you know nothing about with really no expectations, because you don't know what to expect, and then usually it's better than what you ever could have imagined. Usually. But then there's times too where you pull into somewhere the anchor won't set, or that sucks when it won't set. I think my favorite part is just the newness, like going, like you get tired of being somewhere, you can pick up the anchor and go explore something new. I think so.
My favorite part is just the different places, right? The beautiful places. We had fun going up the East Coast and going into new cities, new towns, and things like that, and anchoring and stuff. But actually, I think it's the clear water, and that's what we left Texas for, right?
Yeah.
No, I like coffee with
yeah.
cream.
So, but and I'll tell you that, so, and I think we might have mentioned this before, but the day that we pulled into the dry Tortugas, right? That's the day where we actually got in. We were in clear water. We were over sand. We could see 20 feet down to the bottom, and Shannon kept saying, "This feels like a dream. It feels like."
But here's the reason why, because usually when you travel on land, you see all the different scenery, right? You know you've gone different places. When you travel on water and all you've seen is water for 6 days, and now all of a sudden you're in a whole different place and the water is completely different, it's a different mindset, because when you're traveling on land, you see that you're changing, you're moving places. When you're on water, it's just water for 6 days, and all of a sudden you're in this great place. It kind of felt
You leave the brown
it felt surreal.
chocolate water of
And now all of a sudden you
Texas
wake up 6 days later
6
and
days
you're
later,
in pristine blue water.
what you
But
consider
nothing
paradise.
in your scenery really changed other than that. It was kind of hard to.
So, is there one destination you've been to so far that like really stands out that you're either was more than you expected, or you really exceeded your expectations of what you thought that place was going to be?
I would say dry Tortugas for sure. It definitely exceeded what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I mean that was the sticker shock. That was like the surprise, right? That was like
It was incredible.
yeah.
It was incredible.
My favorite place has been the Exumas.
Yeah.
Absolutely love the Exumas.
Yeah,
and we hoped it was everything that we had hoped for when we first got to the Bahamas, and some of the challenges that we were going through when we first came in with trying to get down south, or hanging out north and stuff like that. When we first got to the Bahamas, it was almost discouraging, because there wasn't anybody up there.
I was disappointed.
We were anchoring in places by ourselves. We were learning the area. It was beautiful water.
Yeah.
But
the weather was terrible.
The weather
so
was
no
bad.
snorkeling.
And so it was nothing like we had hoped.
Very disappointed.
Yeah. But as we worked our way down, we went and got into Abaco, and in Marsh Harbor we hung out there, like we were saying, for a windstorm that was going through. We met some really great friends, which is another great thing about the cruising lifestyle, is you get to meet great people. And then we worked our way down, through Eleuthera and then down into the Exumas. Once we got to the Exumas, that became everything we had envisioned.
Yep.
So, tell us a little bit about your boat. And I know you did a lot to refit this boat. And is there anything that you didn't do that you wish you had done before you left? I know you did pretty much you checked every box that everybody else is thinking of. Water maker, went through every system in the boat. I know you guys did an extensive shakedown cruising down the Texas coast that you invited us to go on, that we found an excuse not to go in the 12-foot seas. But is there anything that you can think of that you missed?
I don't know that there was anything missed. It was just we put attention to everything we knew needed upgrading. The engine, the generator, and the cells were the three things we did not, because they were not giving us any problems. So I wish maybe we had used those systems a little bit more, like extensively, to like full use, and to try to break them, kind of, because that's what happened, is we just used them. And they broke.
If we were
and those are major. Those are like three major systems.
If we were to say, would we have done something different?
Just use it more.
We would have used it more. There's a difference between hanging out on the dock and going out on a cruise, or going sailing on a weekend, or maybe even a week. There's a difference between that and going and shoving off and living on anchor and using your systems 24/7 for to live. And so if I would have done something different, it probably would have been a couple weeks. It's hard to do on the Texas coast. It really is. There's not a lot.
It's hard to do while you still have a job.
That too.
Yeah.
That too. I mean, we
But-
went to office a few times. We would anchor for like a week and
Yeah.
then come back, but this wasn't.
But we just weren't using the systems like we needed to, and you know, we were super focused on air conditioning and things like that. I don't use the air conditioning if we don't have to, because it just burns our battery. Some of the upgrades that we did do, we're very happy with. You know, the lithium, the Victrons, all that other stuff.
And we went small on the solar, which we shouldn't have because we had to
Yeah.
redo that in St. Augustine. And to make space, we had to give away expensive solar panels because we needed space. So that's, I guess, one regret is not doing enough solar.
Not doing on solar. We spent a lot of money on solar to get it right. We got it right now,
But it was
but it took
second
took a lot of
try.
money
Yeah.
to.
So always go more on your power if you can.
So things break on a boat.
Yeah, they do.
And I know something broke today that was just a total surprise. What sort of advice would you give for breakage and the surprise of breakage?
We've said it about 15 times today. Have spares.
Yeah.
Have spares.
On top of spares.
Yeah, spares on top of spares.
And then
if you can do
rebuild
it.
your spares when you use them.
Yeah, I know this because I saw John pull out a water pump. There was a spare water pump, and then there was a spare water pump, and then there was still some machining that had to be done. And
Still wasn't perfect.
Yeah. Well, that's the other. Yeah. Well, that's the other thing. It's have spares, but
And also the right tools, I guess.
Yeah,
you need to have the right tools, because if you don't, if
Workshop.
you didn't have that, you know, we'd be dead in the water for a couple of days, I'm sure.
yeah, and we are in, we're right here in Nassau, so we're like in
Yeah,
civilization,
everything,
but we're leaving tomorrow, and we're going remote.
And imagine if we'd have left yesterday like we thought we might. we'd have
And
in
we would
trouble.
already been remote and
Yeah.
had to deal with it.
Yeah.
And that's not even that was lucky that we saw it today.
Yeah.
But the other spare that we needed before, and we've mentioned this, is a starter, right? And we were actually underway out in out in heavy seas, and realized that we had a bad starter and we couldn't start the engine when we needed it.
At 1 a.m.
And so we're going and digging out of the same hole that you saw me dig out of, and pulled out a starter and put it in
It was
heavy
heavy
seas.
too.
So yeah, have spares, and if you can have spares for spares, do that. And if you can have tools to, sometimes things don't fit exactly like they're supposed to or work like it's supposed to. If you have tools to modify that, great. Not everybody has the benefit that we have of having a lot of storage.
Yeah,
space
the
either.
storage I think is the key.
So, what's been the scariest moment on the boat so far?
I would say the knockdown in the Potomac. We knew there were going to be storms. We were ready for it, honestly. We thought we were ready. But there were a lot of mistakes made. But at the end of the day, we saw it coming at us, and we had just a sliver of the headsail out. But about 5 minutes before it hit us, the VHF radio put out a weather broadcast saying 60 knot winds.
Oof.
So we didn't have a choice but to continue because there were no anchorages close by. We'd actually searched earlier in the day to see if we could find one because it was supposed to hit around 4 p.m. So we just chose, we've ridden out storms several times, but that one hit us hard. And so the entire starboard boat was in the water. We had a Dan buoy, what was it, like a horseshoe ring. It inflated because it was submerged.
It was submerged underwater.
So
And
it
that's on
inflated
our-
in its
That's on our
bag.
lifelines.
Yeah.
So
All the
Oh,
solar
wow.
panel was in there, but also the mistakes that we made were, one, we didn't have life jackets on because we didn't expect it to be that bad, which is bad.
this is all complacency stuff, because when
Yeah,
we
because
first started
usually
sailing,
we would do all that.
we would do all that, and so we got really complacent. We had been, I think, over 3,000 miles by that time.
And we've been through a
traveled.
few storms, which most of them were downwind, like they'd hit us from the back. Well, this one hit us straight on the beam, so that's a whole different ballgame. So that, we left the companionway open, which the water was creeping in another 5 inches. It would have been in the cockpit, and if it came down into the companionway, we'd have sunk for sure. We left the port hole open in the engine room, so the engine room got flooded with salt water. There were a lot of mistakes, and we shredded our sail. But I mean, the boat saved us, and we saved the boat. I think it's fight or flight, and we fought. I think you kind of have a different.
So how long were you guys over before you shouldn't the ballast in the keel pop you back up, or was the wind that strong?
The wind just kept pushing.
It just. I saw 60 knots on the gauge up there, so that's like 75 miles an hour.
Oh my gosh.
But he actually got the engine started, but we couldn't hear it because the wind and the rain were so heavy.
You see howling.
And he looked at the RPMs and saw we had RPMs, so he slammed it into gear and put us into the wind so we could get that head sail in. But I think that was the scariest moment for sure.
Definitely.
And I still have PTSD. Like every time we heel over, like white knuckled for a second.
There was a time when we were sailing and we were heeling at 20 degrees max, whatever. She was like, "Can we go more?" And then after that, if we start heeling even the slightest little bit, I see her in the corner of my eye. She's like,
all right, so we're future cruisers. So what advice are you giving us that you haven't told us already?
I would say.
Well, you've already told us to go now.
I was just about to say that. I was just about to say go now.
Yeah.
Don't wait.
You told us spares and spares.
And the day we left, honestly, we had a million reasons why we shouldn't go.
Yeah.
We did, and we even felt uneasy about leaving that day because we didn't feel prepared. Not everything was like we had just bought that dive compressor, the air compressor. We strapped it down on the floor in there. What? Did it almost poke you? We had just bought the compressor. We got the day before. We strapped it up there in the front berth. We were not ready to go. It felt that way. Like we weren't ready, but we did it.
And we left in the storm.
Yeah. I mean, it was not perfect at all.
To your question though, what would we tell you that we haven't told you?
Advice.
What advice? I don't know. That's a tough one because we're pretty open. We've told you guys a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I would say I would say have an open mind for sure, and because I had a lot of expectations, and I think I was pretty far off. So in some places I was pleasantly surprised, and in some places I was very disappointed. So, and I think the disappointment can sometimes lead to, is this the right decision? Did we do the right thing? Am I feeling sad today? But I think if you reduce your expectations, just have an open mind, you'll do way better.
Yeah, ironically, this is a YouTube thing, right? But the YouTube people,
they don't show you all the downs.
You didn't get a lot of downs.
Yeah. And it's hard. It's not always sunshine and rainbows, but the rewards are pretty great. So you have to go through the hard days to have the good
take
days.
good with the bad.
Yeah.
That would be good.
And I didn't really think about the hard days. Like I knew things would break, but it can be kind of catastrophic in some cases. Like we've been in some serious situations, but it's all paid off. So I just say go with it.
I think that too is be prepared. Don't think it's quote unquote from one of our friends, Chase.
Champagne
sailing all the time.
Not. Actually, most of the sails are not.
It's not.
Mm-mm. But if you have a good boat,
that's the other thing too. And this, you have to listen to your boat.
Yeah.
This is something it's something that I've wanted to put on our Facebook page a couple times and make a post about. But the boat will talk to you. And she does, and what I mean by that is you over time you get to learn, and you learn all the different sounds that the boat makes, right? And when something sounds different, don't throw it to the side because something's up, and we've learned that every single time that we hear a different noise that we're not accustomed to, we go and check it out and find out that. Man, we got a problem here. Case in point, Marsh Harbor, the boat was making just this very odd noise up in the front,
like a grinding.
kind of a grinding noise, and we were kind of pushing it to the side a little bit, and then it kind of dawned on me. It's like you got to listen to the boat. Went up and found that we were only hanging on by one snubber line, so one of the snubber lines had chafed through, and so the other one was the only one hanging on. So
and it was
just a different noise. We'll be in bed and we'll hear something off, come up and find
Well, remember in Key West, we were in Key West, and it was dead calm. It was like 6 a.m, and we heard a weird knocking noise. So we came out here. We sat there for probably 10 minutes, and then we came out, and he checked the weather, and we were about to get hit with a big storm, and we did. And luckily we were ready because we were awake. It was early, but it hit us hard, and it like there was a bottle of wine right here. It went crashing on the floor. That's how far it knocked us over. Just the wind at anchor.
Oh my gosh.
So luckily we listened and we got up, because if we were still in bed, because we actually started dragging anchor, we had to put the engine in forward power to keep the pressure off of it.
And there's another one. Have good ground tackle.
Yeah, for sure. That's your lifeline. And we did not when we started out.
Yeah.
So it's better.
I'll put John and Shannon's social media contacts in the description below. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.